Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to begin our service. You can rise together on page 103. We say Shabbat Shalom to everyone that's at home as well. We welcome you as well on YouTube. Reminder, as we dive in together, there's Hebrew on 103, there's English on the left page. The way I like to look at prayer often is like a swimming in an ocean of spiritual God's presence. So some of the Hebrew may touch, some of the English may touch. From time to time, you can close your eyes, just let the melody touch. Whatever you tap into, that's the goal, is to kind of transcend this particular moment and bring you to somewhere deeper and higher. Hopefully the words bring you to that place, but if they don't, it's okay. There's the pause in between, which can lift you to. So page 103, we rise together for morning blessings, Birchot HaShachar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesachvivina להבחין בינו ובין לילה.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בצלמו.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בת חורים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני ישראל.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, פוקח עברים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, מלביש ערומים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, זוקף וגפופים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המכין מצעדי גבר.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשה לי כל צורכי.
Amen. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזי ישראל בגבורה.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, moter Yisrael בתפארה.
Amen. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן לי אהב כוח.
Amen.
122.
ברוך שאמר והיה עולם, ברוך הוא.
ברוך עושה בראשית, ברוך עושה מקיים, ברוך מסחדו, ברוך המלך ברוך למלך העולם, ברוך הממלך משובח, יחיד חלמי מלך משובח.
יחיד חלמי מלך משובח, ומפרדי את שמו הגדול. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מעולל, ותשבחו.
Amen. May we see this.
So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's so good to be together. Those who are here in our space, those who are joining us from home or wherever you may be, to feel our togetherness. So as we begin our tefillah now, and we just not only arrive in our seats with our bodies, but allow our souls to kind of catch up and sing and just warm everything up inside, I wanted to offer this kavanah, this intention for our prayer. So this week, the Torah portion is Titzaveh, and it opens up in talking about, we're still building the Mishkan, this portable sanctuary, and it talks about this Ner Tamid. And of course, every sanctuary has a Ner Tamid, what we call the eternal light, which is directly connected to this commandment that God gives Moshe, and as Moshe instructs the people, to bring this Ner Tamid that's going to travel with them wherever they go. And of course, this Ner Tamid, it's a beautiful light, but it's symbolic of perhaps all that light can convey: warmth, wisdom, enlightenment, but also a symbol of God's eternal presence. And the word tamid is usually translated as always or eternal. But there's an interesting conversation that the rabbis have over the course of thousands of years. What exactly does this mean in light of the Ner Tamid? Does it mean that the light was always lit, continuously? Or does it mean that it was lit and it would go out and then would be lit again continually? So is it continuous without ever going out, or continual in that for periods of time it would be lit, it would go out, and then it would be relit? And Rashi, one of our most famous commentators, reasons that it was actually Laila, Kol Laila Velaila, meaning it would go out, it was continual. It would go out, and then it would be relit. And I think that can relate directly to our Shabbat experience. I know for myself, I can't sort of sustain a spiritual and holy and mindful mindset throughout the entire week. It comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes. But there are certain moments throughout my week, and especially Shabbat, where I sort of relight the light. I plug in, and the lamp is rekindled. So in that way, it is continuous, or continual without being continuous. It can have ends, but we can plug back in with our Shabbat practice, with our rituals. And so my hope is that our tefillah this morning is an experience of kind of rekindling that light, which inevitably goes out. But there's an eternal quality to it because we keep doing it. We keep coming back and lighting it once again. So we're going to light together, all of our own souls and our communal soul together as we continue now with Ashrei, page 136. 136. Ashrei,
מלכותך מלכות כל ודרך קרוב לחוק הבחור השם וקרוב עשה השם
ואנחנו נברך with Psalm 150, page 141. We take a moment to remember that all that is being asked of us in prayer is our neshama, our soul is awakened. And the word for neshama and neshima, breath, are the same. So if all we do is sit here and breathe together and know that we're breathing and feel our aliveness, that is prayer. Hallelujah, 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 El B'Kodsho, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Take a shofar, hallelujah, b'nevel v'chinor, hallelujah, b'tov u'machol, hallelujah, u'b'mini v'olam. Hallelujah, 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 b'tzilzel neshama, hallelujah, b'tzilzel ruach, ola neshama hallelujah, ola neshama hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We take a deep breath, Neshima Mukha. We continue on page 145 for Nishmat Kol Chai. The soul breath of all that lives has a prayer of gratitude to God's name.
Bottom 146.
Miyid melach umishvela umiharogla Hagadol hagibor hanora El elyon kone shamayim v'haaretz Ne'alecha nishabechechan va'erchan v'arech et shem kodshecha kamur
לדוד באחים שנאי וכל רבי
את שם קודשו האוהל בתעצמת עוזך הגדול בכבוד שמך הגיבור לנצח והנורא לנורותיך המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא שוכנה מרום וקדוש שמו וכתוב רננו צדיקים באדוני ישרים נבטילה בישרים תתהלל ובדברי צדיקים תתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומה ובקרב קדושים תתקדש ובמקלות רב
שיר חמגנו בכל הדור ודור. שכן חובת כל היצורים לבדך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו להודות להלל לשבח לפאר לרומם להדר שירה ותשבחות דוד ותשי עבדך ידעת נשיכך. Please rise. 148. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. המלך הגדול הקדוש בשמיים. ברכות והודות מטבע עד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הגדול בתשבחות אל הודעות אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך העולמים אמן יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה תלמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחתכון בית ישראל פגע לה בזמן קריב ימרו אמן ישמר בגורל לעולם עולם בעלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתעטר ויתעלה ויתעלל שמר קודשה בריחו לעולם מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה תמירן במער ימרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
May be seated. 150.
We continue with the blessing for creation. Grateful for light, whether it is whatever your own ner tamid is, that light that is eternal. That's the light that we meditate on in this prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or ve'choshech oseh shalom uvorez hagoy chodecha oyashavur Adonai yotzer haberah b'terah הוציא חמה מגומה ודבר מחליש ממעשה אין ככה אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה ואין זו חמה כלך עולם הבא אפס פרטך גודל ואת המשיח ואין דמר חמשיינו בתחיית העדים
151.
הגולם בסים ברוך ובורא וכל נשמה לא ידועה לעולם דר וגבורה זוהרים אותו מגייר טובים ראשו אלוהינו מלאים זיו יקנו גן בכבוד עונים לשמו צולמים נותנים לו כל צבא גאולה. שרפי ועובדי וחיות הקודש.
152, לשבת מקומסים. זה שבת של יום שביעי ושבת שבת.
תתברך משינה שלך מזיד.
תתברך קודש ומסרת.
תתברך צוני למקום.
תתברך מלכנו וגדול מלכנו ושתברך שם מלכנו. Top 153.
כולם אהובים, כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים, וכולם עושים באימה וביראה. בצעונם וכולם פותחים אביהם, בקדושה ותורה, בשירה ובזמרה, ופרחים ושבים ומפארים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם
המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, הקדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונענים רשות זה לזה, להקדיש ליוצרה ונחת רוח, בשפה ברורה ובנימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, אלוהים הארץ כבודו. להאופנים להיות הקודש, ברעש גדול מן הזיל ובצרפים, לעומת המשברים להאומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו. ליל ברוך נעימות אלך בכנסת לשלום. יוסי ושיוסי
אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יום עוצר המאורות.
Amen. Page 454, prayer of love. We bring our tzitzit together to prepare for Shema Yisrael Avav. Adonai Eloheinu, Chaim Lach, Gedol Avidot, Amin Rachaman, Rachim Rachim. Can't you come Ha'er Einenu Dotecha. Nagi Nishvah.
וקרבתנו לשמך הקדוש על באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
אמן.
שמע
ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם בבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. continue 156. Vayim Shemor. Yeshua Zashnuchim Etzav. Hashem Lechem Ben Yiftel Avavchem. אדמה לא תיתן מזמר כתבת מזביתך בשמך.
אדוני אלוהיכם
אמת ויציב לכל חיים ישר למענו ובתנאים שמו קיים
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים לכיסו נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת.
157 זה ישראל עבדיך ראשונים אחרונים.
אמת שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו ואמותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו ואמותינו יוצרנו צור ישועתנו כבודנו ומצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו ואמותינו אתה ומעולם.
אמת Middle of 158. Please rise. Every pages 159 to 161, we daven together, facing Yerushalayim. The rest of our Amidah is in silently. Chance for us on Shabbat to use the prayer book, of course, but be inspired by it. You need to add to your prayer, the Talmud says. Add your own supplication. What touches your heart? What do you and God have to have a little conversation about on this Shabbat? So 159 to 161, rest is silent Amidah.
Adonai
Sivat Adida Oya Ladeha Aru Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotinu V'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachem Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואלים לבניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלק חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, נשארי עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדום אליו, דרך ממית ומחיה, ומצליח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
אמן.
גדל את שירה בעולם, את שם הקדישי, אותו איש ממרום. הכתוב על יד נביאך, והרזה אל זה ואמר, גדול גדול גדול, הרזה אלוהי זיונו. אדיר והזב מזימו, נתנסיר לעומת זהבים, לעומתה ברוך יאמרו, אהוב ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, אם נאחים עלינו לך מתי תמלוך בציון וקרוב בימינו, לעולם בעת תשכון תיגדע בתוך ירושלים, עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים, איננו תירדה מלכותך. קדושתך נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו ושנעלם ועד, כי על מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
167. Kaddish Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש מדבר
אמן.
בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חונו ומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב והימרו
אמן.
ושמע במבורך לעולם עולם לעולם יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ותעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה אמירן דלמה והימרו אמן תתקבץ לא תון בוטון לכל ישראל קדם אבון דבישמע והימרו אמן יש למרב מן שמיה וחיים עלינו והכל ישראל והימרו אמן עושה שלום ממרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו והכל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל והימרו אמן אין כמוך ברבים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז עמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום אב הרחמים היטיבה ברצונך את ציון תפנה חומות ירושלים כי לבב פתחנו
Please rise.
ונישא אדון עולמים ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה
ומה אדוני ויבוזו ימיך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי בציון תצא תורה כי בציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני בירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל וקדושתו
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד
אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו קדוש שמו
אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו שמו
גדלו לאדוני איתי ונרום שמו יחדיו לך אדוני הגדולה האורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי הוד בשמיים ובארץ כי הוד בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה והבינה לכל ראש לך אדוני הגדול
Our newest members, welcome guys.
והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי הוד בשמיים ובארץ כי הוד בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה והבינה לכל ראש רוממות אדוני בשתה
Shabbat Shalom, Barach, Shalom, Shalom. Good to see you, Javi.
Rama Moten Aleinu, Vishtachavarech,
Shalom.
Kocho, Kikadosh, Adonai Eloheinu.
Misha, 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 Nignas Adar. Maybe see everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Great to see everyone here, Chevra. We are following along in our Chumashim on page 513. It's a larger red books. We are on Parshat Tetzaveh. This is in the book of Exodus, book of Shemot. This is the second book of the Torah, of course. And a lot of the book of Exodus, as named, is about leaving Egypt and getting out of Egypt and the process. We all know that's been earlier. Then there's like a pause of several Torah portions, Parshiot, dealing with the building of the Mishkan, which is that portable sanctuary we had in the desert, the Mikdash, the altar in the between, what happened there. This parsha deals a lot with what the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, who is doing a lot of the sacrifices and all the worship stuff in the Mishkan, what he was wearing, different details around it, details about some of the sacrifices, things like this. So it's a lot also about the collection of properties and what was the Mishkan looked like as well. So a lot of description. Parshat Tetzaveh, we are in Exodus chapter 29, verse 19, page 513. And for our first Aliyah v'yazor v'gim v'shyasim bo v'namar mein hakol havu god leilo hendu kavod laTorah Yamod, Ruvain ben Ezelik v'gisha, l'aliyah rishona, Baruch shatan, Torah mo'is b'rishato, v'altem advigim Adonai, Elohechem chayim hayom.
Baruch hu es Adonai hamborah.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai hamborah li'olam bo'ed. Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher b'chabonu mikol ha'amim. V'noson lanu es Torah so. Baruch ato Adonai nosein ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'lakachta et ha'ayel hasheni, v'samach Aharon v'anav, yedehem al rosh ha'ayel, v'shachata et ha'ayel, v'lakachta midamo, v'natata al tenuchas en Aharon, al tenuchas en banav hamanit, al bohen yadam hamanit, al bohen raglam hamanit, Zarakta tatam al hamizbeach saviv lakakta min hadam asher al hamizbeach umishamen hamishcha v'hizeta al haron v'begadav v'banav v'bigdei v'anav ito v'kadash hu begadav v'vanav v'bigdei v'anav
ito.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher nosan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam notah b'socheinu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein ha'torah.
Amen. Shkoyach. Second Aliyah, verse 22, page 514. As they're coming forward, invite all to please rise. We'll offer a special prayer for healing. Yamdu tzvi ben Yeshua Kohen v'tirza bar Avraham v'sar Aliyah Shenit. As we pause in this prayer, I invite you to offer quietly the names of those who you're holding in your heart or in need of healing, every kind of healing. Misheberach avotenu, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarif Kavachel v'Leah, hu yivarech v'rapeh et hacholim v'samor echayim v'shem v'tzvi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu merachamim alehem laxikam lerapotam וישלח מרפואה השמה מן השמיים רפואת הנפש רפואת הגוף בטוח שהחולים חזק כדי עסקים בצרכיהם שבת מזוג רופאה כבוד לבוא השתה בגלה בזמן קריב ונאמר Amen. May the Holy One have blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bring blessing and healing to all those we pray for. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill. And may God grant strength to those who tend to them. The Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out. We hope and pray that healing is at hand. And let us say together, Amen. Amen. Now, verse 22, page 514.
Baruch hu Adonai Hamvorah. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'lakachta min ha'ayil ha'chelev v'ha'aliyah ve'ed ha'chelev ha'michaseh et ha'kerev ve'et yoter et ha'kaved ve'et shetei ha'klayot ve'et ha'chelev asher alehen ve'et shel kayamin Ki el miluim hu, v'chikar lechem achat, v'chalat lechem shemen achat, v'rakik echad, misal hamatzot asher lifnei Adonai, v'samta hakol al kapei Aharon v'al kapei vanav, V'henafta otam tenufa lifnei Adonai. V'lakachta otam miadam v'hiktarta hamizbecha al ha'olah l'reach nichoach lifnei Adonai ishehu
L'Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chai olam nota b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekoyach. Beautiful job. Third aliyah. We are in verse 26, page 514. Amona. Sima Rachel Chana bat Mendel Ella v'gitel aliyah shlishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch
Adonai Barach Le'olam
Va'ed.
Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'lakachta et hachazeh me'el hamiluim asher la'aron v'hanafta oto tenufa lifnei Adonai v'haya lecha l'manaha v'kidashta et chazeh ha'tenufa ve'et shok ha'terumah asher hanufa hunaf asher huram me'el hamiluim me'asher la'aharon me'asher levanav v'haya la'aharon ulvanav l'chok olam me'et b'nei Yisrael ki trumahu utrumah yeh me'et b'nei Yisrael mizivchei shalmeihem terumatam la'Adonai uvikdei hakodesh asher la'aharon yiyu levanav acharav ומלאבם את ידם, שבעת ימים, ילבשם הכהן, תחתיו מבניו, אשר יבואו אל אוהל מועד,
לשרת בקודש.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shikoach. Good job. So our fourth aliyah, we're in verse 31, page 515. Yamod Adam ben Natan v'Shoshana l'aliyah revi'it. So 515.
Baruch et Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ei el hamiluim tikach v'ilshalta et besaro b'makom kadosh ve'achal Aharon uvanav et basar ha'ayil ve'et halechem asher basal petach ohel moed ve'achlu otam asher kupar bahem l'malei et yadam l'kadesh otam v'zar lo yochal ki kodesh heim ve'im yivater מבשר המילואים ומן הלחם עד הבוקר, בשר אבטד הנותר באש, לא יאכל כי קודש הוא.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shikoch. Beautiful job. So, we now turn to our fifth aliyah. We are in verse 35, page 515, and I understand someone's here to chant the Torah for the first time since your bat mitzvah last year, Jackie Waborski. We're so proud of you. We're so proud of you. We're going to give you an achas in a moment. So, our fifth aliyah, verse 35, page 515. Yamod Natan ben Bela umachul hakohen l'aliyah chamishit.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ועשית לאהרון ובניו ככה ככל אשר ציוויתי אותך 7 ימים תמלא ידם ופר חטאת תעשה ליום על הכיפורים וחטאת על המזבח וכפרך עליו ומשכת אותו לקדשו 7 ימים תכפר על המזבח וקידשת אותו והיה המזבח קודש קדשים כל הנוגע במזבח יקדש.
Amen. Shikoyach. Awesome, Jackie. Awesome.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koch, Jackie and her family, and Brian, who I'm sure tutored you the whole time. Brian Shakok on the help on that baby. In front of the children also, she's so proud. Jackie, this is amazing. This is what we want to see. Way to take your amazing musical skills and to really bring them into the shul beautifully. And you've done it in other ways in the past, but so beautifully. You really worked at it. We are so proud of you. Since it's your first time in a short while, there's a custom to celebrate this moment. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu l'azman. We thank you, Holy One, for blessing us to witness this beautiful moment. Mazel tov, Jackie. Mazel tov to everybody. Shakach. Awesome. All right. So we now turn to our sixth aliyah, verse 38, page 515. Whoops. Yamod Shimon ben Yaakov aliyah shishit.
Baruch Adonai Baruch
Baruch Adonai Baruch
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol amim v'nosan lanu es Torah Baruch Atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. Asher taseh al hamizbeach tfasim bnei shana shnai try this again. Asher taseh al hamizbeach tfasim bnei shana shnayim layom tamid et hakeves haechad taseh baboker ואת הכבש השני תעשה בין 40 ויסרון צולת בלול בשמן כתית רבעין ונסך רביעית ההין יין לכבש האחד ואת הכבש השני תעשה בין 40 כמלכת הבוקר וכניסקה תעשה לה לריח ניחוח היא של אדוני עולה תמיד לדורותיכם פתח אוהל מועד לפני אדוני אשר יבעט לכם שמה לדבר אליך שם ונועדתי שמה לבני ישראל ונקדש בכבודי וקידשי את אוהל מועד, את המזבח ואת הארון ופניו, הקדש לכהן לי, ושכנתי בתוך בני ישראל, והייתי להם לאלוהים, וידעו כי אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אותם. מארץ מצרים לשכני בתוכם אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בזכינו ברוך אתה אדוני נושאין התורה.
So we turn to our seventh aliyah. We're on verse 1, page 517. Okay. Yamod Yoshua b'Minyamin l'aliyah shvi'it.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. ועשית מזבח מקטר כתובת, עשה זיתים תעשה אותו. אמר הכהן ואמר רחבו, והוא איה ו200 קומתו, ממנו קנותיו, וציפית אותו. זהבתהו את גגו ואת קרקיותיו סביב את קנותיו עשית לו זה זהב סביב ושתי תבות זהב תעשה לו מתחת לזהבו על שתי צלותיו, תעשה על שני צידיו. והיה לבטים לשאת אותו בהמה. ועשית את הבדים עצי שיטים, וציפית אותם זהב, ונתת אותו לפני הפרוכת אשר על ארון העדות, לפני הכפורת אשר על העדות אשר יבאה לך שמה. והקטיר עליו אהרון כתורת צמים בבוקר בהטיבו את הנרות יקטירנם. ובעלות אהרון את הנרות בין הארבעים יקטירנה כתורת תמיד לפני אדוני לדודכם. לא תעלו עליו כתורת זבה ועולה ומנחה ונעשה, לא תזחול עליו. וכיפר אהרון על קרנותיו אחת בשנה מדם חטאת הכיפורים. אחת בשנה יכפר עליו לדורותיכם. קודש קדשים הוא לאדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekah, beautiful job. We rise together for Chatzi Kaddish. יתגדל ויתגדל שמי רבה ביום לבחרותי ועמיך מלכותי יהרוב ימיך ובעירו בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ועד יתברך וישתבח ויתבר וירומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשה ברכו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושמחתה ונחמתה דמירה ויאמרו. You may be seated. Our maftir is on page 517, verse 8. Yamod Yaakov Moshe ben Yahu Rachelea למפטיר.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. ובעלות אהרון את הנרות בין הארבעים יקטירנה כתורת תמיד לפני אדוני לדורותיכם. לא תעלו עליו כתורת זבה ועולה ומנחה. ופני זך לא תזכור עליו. וכיפר אהרון על קרנותיו אחת בשנה מדם חטאת הכיפורים. אחת בשנה יכפר עליו לדורותיכם. Kodesh Kachim Hula Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Shekach. We rise, let's address the Sefer Torah. We rise together. Yamor Yaakov ben Avram Sarah Magbia. Damor Shona Leah bat Moshe Micha v'Shoshana Hagolelet. V'zor HaTorah Asher Samosh. Nice, Jim. Ibnei Israel. Okay, let's get my man. Come on down. B'yam Yosef. As Jim places the Sefer Torah down in the stand, you may be seated. We turn out to page 520, the prophet Ezekiel. Just like the Torah portion talked about the building of the Mishkan, Ezekiel talking about a rebuilt temple in Yerushalayim, page 520.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzav divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher baTorah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Ata v'nadam haged et beit Yisrael et habayit v'yikalemu me'avonotechem umadeu et tochnit ve'im nichlemu mikol asher asu tzurat habayit utchunato umatzahav umovahav v'chol tzurotav ve'et kol chukotav v'chol tzurotav v'chol torotav hoda'otam uchtov le'eneihem va'yishmeru et kol tzuroto ve'et kol chukotav v'asuotam. Zot Torat habayit al rosh ha'har kol givulo saviv saviv kodesh kadashim hine zot Torat habayit ve'ele midot hamizbeach ka'amot ama v'tafach ve'chek ha'ama ve'amarochav ugvula el sifata saviv zeheret ha'echad ve'zegav hamizbeach ומחק הארץ עד הזרע התחתונה שתיים אמות ורוחב אמה אחת ומהזרע הקטנה עד הזרע הגדולה 400 ורוחב האמה והאריאל 400 ומי האריאל ומעלה הקרנות 4 והאריאל שתיהם 10 אורך בשתיהם 10 רוחב רבוע אל 4 רבעיו והזרע 14 אורך ב14 רוחב אל 4 רבעיה והגבול סביב אותה חצי האמה והחק לאמה סביב ומעלותיהו פנות קדים ויאמר אלי בן אדם כה אמר אדוני אלוהים אלכו כהות המזבח ביום העשותו להעלות עליו עולה ולזרוק עליו דם ונתת אל הכהנים הלוויים אשר הם מזרע צדוק הקרובים אלי נאום אדוני אלוהים לשרתני פר בן בקר לחטאת ולקחת מדמו מנתת על 4 קרנותיו אל 4 פינות הזרע אל הגבול סביב וכיתת אותו וכיפתהו ולקחת את הפר החטאת ושרפו במפקד הבית מחוץ למקדש וביום השני תקריב שעיר עזים תמיד לחטאת וכיתהו את המזבח כאשר כיתהו בפר בחלותיך מחטא תקרבי פר בן בקר תמיד ואיל מן הצאן תמים והקרבתם לפני אדוני והשליכו הכהנים עליהם מלח והעלו אותם עולה לאדוני 7 ימים תעשה שעיר חטאת להיום ופר בן בקר ואיל מן הצאן תמימים יעשו 7 ימים יכפרו את המזבח v'tiharu oto umilu yadav vayichalu et hayamim v'haya vayom hashmini v'chala Ya'asu ha-kohanim al hamizbeach et olo hamizbeach et olotechem ve'et ha-shalmechem ve'ratziti etchem ne'um Adonai Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzadik bechol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh ha'medaber umkayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ne'emanim devarecha V'davar echad midvarecha, achor lo yashuv rekam, ki el melech ne'eman, v'rachaman ata, baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch v'shmo.
ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav.
Amen.
Rachem al Tzion ki hi beit chayenu ve'la'aluvat nefesh toshia bimheira v'yameinu Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch v'shmo.
Mesameach Sion b'vaneha
Amen.
Samechenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha uv'malchut beit David Mishiecha bimheira yavo v'yagel libenu al ki solo yeshev zar ve'lo yinchalu od achirim et kivodo ki v'shem kod shechanish batalo shelo yichben ero le'olam va'ed baruch atah Adonai Magen David al haTorah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'nevi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdu shavalim nucha lechavod ultifared al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach barachim otach yitbarach shimcha b'fikol chai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Beautifully done. We now rise together on page 183. Invite those honored for coming forward to help with the Sefer Torah procession. I'll come up to the Hakafa. Yehallelu 183.
Yehallelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkar shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, v'yarem kehen le'amo, tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am gerovo, hallelujah, hallelujah, mizmor David, havul Adonai b'neim, havul Adonai kavod v'oz, havul Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai be'adrat kodesh, Adonai l'mayim el hakavoririm, Adonai al-mayim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, kol Adonai behadar, kol Adonai shover arazim, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון, וירקיתם כמו עגל, לבנון וסיריון, כמו בן רמים. כל אדוני חוצב להבות אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יכול אל אילות, ויחשוף יראות ובחנו, כולו אומר כבוד, אדוני המבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, את חיים היא למחזיק עמה, ותומכיה מאושרת דרכיה, דרכיה נתיבותיה שלום, השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, קדש ימינו, קדש ימינו כקדם.
Debbie, you should call me. See, Debbie was very well timed. I'm impressed with that closing. You should- I don't- Maybe you have a child who's a rabbi. Maybe that's what's going on there. All right, Shakah. Awesome. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're back
Shabbat
here
Shalom.
to study Torah together. And as usual, our custom, we recognize we got some good feedback. We will do our best here to summarize, paraphrase what people say. Want you to participate. We're still not at a place yet where we're fully ready to bring back the microphone, but we're on the, hopefully on the cusp of the promised land of that. But we're going to study together a text. We'll ask a question or two. We invite your participation. At home, feel free to click on the link with next to live stream should say for the Devar Torah, the Torah teaching of the week. And we're going in here. So all of you who are here, of course, reading, there's a lot in this particular parsha about not only the Mishkan, the structure of this tabernacle, but the high priest, Kohen Gadol, and what he had to wear. And it's Aaron, of course. Aaron is the first one. And what his ceremony of ordination's like, basically his graduation ceremony. Interesting things going on with like blood placed in different parts of the body and oil, whatever. Okay. But in the details of what the high priest should wear, the Kohen Gadol, there's this big robe. There's many levels of clothing, but one is a robe that goes down almost to the floor. And at the bottom, we're going to get into this here, this robe that is made of a blue color, a very unique blue color. We'll talk about that. On the bottom, there were pomegranates and bells. So I guess sewed pomegranates and like a bell, but a bell that actually had a little, tongue in the middle and would ring. There's a debate. We're going to go into the text here and see, was it one every other? Was it somehow the pomegranate was like a bell? This is actually the rabbis debate it. But the idea was that when the Kohen Gadol walked around and did all the sacrifices and even walked around the people to some degree, you could actually hear him coming by with all of these bells going by. So we want to go into a little deeper here. Why is it that this robe is blue, very specific blue? Why is it that it's making this sound? And not only that, but when a person comes into the room and all of a sudden they have a special sound, I guess wherever they go, they have this special bell sound, it could lead to a certain kind of ego trip around having bells going off all the time. As you walk around, it's like the bells are following, Eric's coming because, people know I'm coming because I'm loud. But, if you have bells coming, it's like as if this grand entrance, wherever you go, even if you're taking a small step. So the rabbis want to get into a little bit about what is up with the bells, what does it make for the Kohen Gadol feel, why wearing blue, what might all these things be teaching us as a lesson not only for the high priest, but also really a lesson for us.
And for those of us who are interested in art and ritual objects, oftentimes the dressing on a Torah scroll itself, the Sefer Torah, is sort of modeled after what the priest wore, right? So we don't have priests anymore. And so our Sefer Torah, our Sifrei Torah, have a breastplate like the priests wore a breastplate. Yeah. They had a crown like the priests wore a crown. Ours actually have some beads around the bottom, some embellishment, but you'll see in the course of your life, other Torah decorations will also have those little pomegranate bells on the Torah. And some of our silver pieces also ring, so that when the Torah moves around, you hear that sound. So there's really a connection between this text and how we've reinterpreted it over the generations, now placed on the Torah.
So true. Cool. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. You read out first the text, the psuk, or psuk, keeping a look at, they go in detail about this issue of the blue.
Yes.
So we see it, okay?
All right, so we start with, you shall make the robe of the ephod of pure blue, and the word in Hebrew is tchelet. On the hem, make pomegranates all around the hem, with bells of gold between them all around. Aaron shall wear it while serving, so that the sound of it is heard when he comes into the sanctuary before Adonai, before God, and when he goes out, that he may not die.
Okay, so just as an aside, if you go look into the Chumash and the commentary, what does it mean he's not going to die? Why this sounds so again, like, be ready for inconsistency here. There are theories that first, there's two main theories. What does it mean he's going to die? Okay, one, he was the only one on Yom Kippur who went to the Holy of Holies by himself. All right, and there's a great fear that he go into this place, this special place, this holy place. It's a scary place. Some believe that there were demons in that place that might want to take his life. And by shaking the bells, it's like, you know how like there's traditions where like before a wedding we break a glass. That's actually at a wedding, but you make a loud sound, like break plates and stuff like that. Apparently, this idea of breaking loud sounds is an ancient idea that by making a loud sound, you scare off any kind of bad things in there. That's one idea. There's another idea that since he went into the Kodesh Kodashim by himself, okay, some of you may know this, they actually used to tie a little string around his leg because if, God forbid, he died in the Holy of Holies and nobody knew that, then no one's allowed to go in there, so you got to then pull them out afterwards. So the bells were considered an additional level of like, you could hear he's in there, okay, he's doing okay, and then if he came back out, you could hear him. So protecting his life was something hectic. I mean, I don't know if that's the pshat, but that is the interpretation that people bring down. Okay. But we're not even going to focus on that so much. We're going to focus more on the idea that he wore this bells going in and out to be heard. An ancient phrase, Aaron shall wear it while serving. So another emphasis here about lisharet is about he should do it in the course of service. All right. First we get to Techelet. Why is it blue? You want to go through that commentary?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a Talmudic commentary. Why blue? And why this very specific kind of blue called Techelet? Why is Techelet specified from all the other colors for this mitzvah? Because Techelet is similar to the color of the sea, and the sea is similar to the sky, and the sky is similar to the color of a sapphire, and a sapphire is similar to the throne of glory.
Okay. So basically this text, this is all going to be background to the one we're going to go at the bottom. I just wanted to bring this forward to say essentially, why do we choose blue for so many things? Because blue, ultimately, the rabbis believe, leads us essentially to be fearful and aware of God. That blue is the color, in a sense, of God's place. So when you see blue, especially Techelet blue, you should like immediately be in a more sensitive, aware, and humble perspective. That blue should be a reminder. Not something you just enjoy, but actually a reminder of something greater than yourself. That's what the blue is supposed to be.
And for anybody who has been to the land of Israel and has visited Sfat, which is a city in the north, which is sort of the home, the birthplace of Jewish mysticism, of Kabbalah, you'll see splashes of blue everywhere, like a blue door or a blue wall. And so too, Techelet, that this specific blue is the same for the string of the talit. Rabbi Eric has blue in his talit string. This is a specific color blue that's Techelet. And I think for all of us, I mean, when I know for myself, when I look at the ocean or I look at the sky, there's a quality of awe, of that sense of infinity, of awesomeness that arises in oneself. And that's, the Kabbalists understood that we need like splashes of blue in our physical space to conjure up that sense of yirah, of awe and reverence in our lives.
You're fair. All right, so this is all meant to be basically background for the really most important. But the idea is, right, blue was chosen on the robe for a reason, because it brings fear of God, awareness of God. The bells, they're meant to make you aware that the person's coming and going, but we're still not clear what that means. Does it make the Kohen go for self-important? The blue seems to be maybe more of a moderating, like, humbling maybe, but there's the bells, and he's wearing, of course, this very special clothing, which, it makes
Which
him...
only he wears.
Only he wears in a very special way. Like, you can see how this could be very ego-pumping, and yet maybe there's some kind of breaks on it in the clothing. And maybe the clothing are trying to convey a certain ambivalence about him being in charge, but he's not in charge. He's a big deal, but he's not a big deal. Something in between these things. All right, but Jeff, you got a comment on it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this is related, but I wish I remembered the name of the book, but it's entitled
Yes, right. Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yes, because so precious. But I love that Jeff used the word lapis lazuli, whatever, because that's like all over the Torah and we never hear it. So Jeff's saying the book was called Or. That's the name of the book. Okay, or color. Okay. All right. So basically, saying there's a history of dyes, and basically lapis lazuli, which you see in the Torah, which is a blue color. And by the way, this into the rabbis go in debate about, and this I'll tell you in a second about where the tchelet comes from today. But yeah, but this idea that it was very precious, but so precious, so difficult. So we've got to find and to mine, and then I assume to even manufacture or process, whatever, that might be like, okay, this is so high level, we're going to, and precious and rare, essentially we're going to dedicate it to God. I think it's a very powerful idea. So it's not only reflects God, but it's a sense of the preciousness you would kind of give over to God. The rabbis, by the way, with people, this idea, like if you look at Rabbi Jenny's tzitzit, and tzitzit only have to be white. They don't have to have the blue. No, you got Rabbi here goes above and beyond. Okay, the said. All right. This
He's a little extra.
Rabbi nerds do, okay? Why? Because only about like 30, 40 years ago, they discovered that according to, again, there's debate on this issue. You're down one road is the lapis lazuli, whatever. The other road is that it's from a special snail that comes from the land of Israel called a chilazon. They thought it was gone for history. Already Middle Ages, the Maimonides says, forget about it, just have white tzitzit, forget putting blue. Even though it says in the Torah, have blue tefillin. Says, no, we can't find it where it's gone. They refound it in the state of Israel. They now remanufactured, and that's why some of us actually have the blue based on this new opinion that they can find it from a snail. Now, I'm not even sure what it means by snail. It must be like a part of the snail, or the snail produces the color. I don't know. Any zoologist let us know. All right. But this is all background. All right, well, Ellen, go ahead, Ellen, what do you say?
She knows.
Oh, you know the chilazon?
No.
Oh.
This was a little bit more prosaic. The robe has the tefillah, but so does the ephod.
Yes. Yes.
It also has it, and it specifically says that, use that word in describing how they're supposed to make the ephod. And one of the stones, I think, in the breastplate is lapis lazuli.
Yes, so maybe it's a similar, different color.
Because the tchelet, Ellen is making the point, because the tchelet is also in the ephod, that it must, which is not, you would assume is not a dye. We may presume that it's more like the lapis lazuli kind of route. Okay,
Yeah.
right, we don't know.
Like when I say robe, like an ephod was like a chest,
like a breastplate,
something like
a
this.
cover.
These are all like
kind.
layers of clothing he was wearing.
We're doing some guessing because we don't have any.
I mean, there's some pictures you can
evidence.
look at, not here. We have Google right here. Right, an
Yes,
apron.
an
You're fair,
apron.
an apron.
There we go.
I like that. You're fair.
But it matches the robe.
Right.
So we have God as a wonderful costume designer.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're fair.
yeah,
Good for Pearl.
yes,
It's all set up. All right, Henry, what do you say?
Follow on Jeff and your comment. The dye was precious.
Yes.
The gold for the bells is precious.
Yep.
But gold makes terrible bells. It's a soft metal. It does not ring out.
So
I suspect that the sound was less important than the flaunting of the precious.
I never really thought about that, Henry. So Henry's saying, look, they say gold bells, but you're right. There's bells of gold. You're right, Henry. So Henry's saying if it's made of gold, and gold is a soft metal, then it will not sound right.
So the sound would be muted.
It'll be a muted sound. So this may be interesting that even though it looks pretty, and it focuses on preciousness, which is consistent with the blue, Techelet is not consistent with ideal sound. It's actually an interesting point. Like, it shows
I would say let's hold that idea because that may fit in very nicely with this
it might.
particular commentary.
Okay, all right, we'll give Stuart a shot. Stuart, what do you say?
It's interesting, we get, as Jews, we get into the minutiae of everything.
Yes.
But the most significant, I think, of reading that Parsha is that Moshe Rabbeinu was not mentioned once.
Yes.
The whole Parsha. And it's elevating Aaron to a very distinct place in Jewish history and religious observance.
Yes.
There's a midrash that said that when Moses said 3 times that I'm not the right person to go, God got angry at him. And he had the opportunity to be both the prophet and the priest.
Yes.
But because he turned it down 3 times, and then God says, and your brother Aaron is coming to meet you, that he elevated Aaron.
Yes.
So that Moshe remained the prophet, but Aaron became the
roles.
So, I mean, that's what I got out of the caution, that Moses is not mentioned at all
Yes.
as the significant thing.
Yes.
Great. So Stuart's talking about just noting that Moshe is in fact not mentioned in this week's Torah portion. It's really all about Aaron and elevating Aaron into the priestly role, and that Moshe had the opportunity perhaps to be both prophet and priest, but turned away from that opportunity, and that's why Aaron is elevated in the role of priest.
All right. So let's just.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I was talking.
Yes, there he
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
So we're not idolizing this other person, but it's this kind of sensory experience instead, and that makes it a more,
Less personal. Yeah.
a different connection to the priest.
Wow, that's
I
a
love
great
that
idea.
idea.
Sarah. I love that.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
wanna say-
I can do it.
Yeah.
So Sarah is suggesting that the fact that there's so much of this sensory experience, both in the audio and the visual, that perhaps it helps bring our attention less to Aaron as a person and more to the role and to the moment, the experience, the offering, the spirituality of the ritual. So we're not connected to it primarily about Aaron and his personhood, but more the role that he's fulfilling.
Exactly. You're
Very
fair.
nice.
Okay. So this all was meant to be wonderful discussion to understand now the text here at the bottom. Okay. The Netziv. Vakasha, Rabbi Jay.
Yes, so many commentators have explained that the sound of the bells served as a protection for him so that he would not die when he entered the Holy of Holies, as Rabbi Eric mentioned.
That's the standard explanation. Okay.
But this seems peculiar, for on Yom Kippur, in the Holy of Holies, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, entered without the pomegranates and bells. And on a regular basis, the regular Kohanim would enter to maintain the incense, and they didn't wear bells either.
All right, so basically say, wait a second, that's a classic answer, but he actually looks in the Torah and says that doesn't make total sense. The Kohen Gadol actually, if you look in Yom Kippur, in the Parsha doing Yom Kippur, apparently he goes all the way in without specifically
Right, he has these very simple white garments.
Okay, wait a second, I didn't notice that part. Yes, every day one more, on other occasions, yes, but not. And then other Kohanim, the regular guys, would go in to kind of just clean things up a little bit, and they don't have to wear bells. So it must not be just about the bell safety issue. Okay.
In fact, the focus is that Aharon is lisharet. He is there to serve. Therefore, his service is the most important thing. For that, he needed to wear a coat, and the bells were simply a decoration. The coat is what really protected Aharon. The sound of the bells would create sounds in honor and create a feeling that he was walking in the house of God and walk with sensitivity. Ordinary Kohanim would work together as a group and create a certain spiritual energy together. This was not the case with the Kohen Gadol, who mostly served alone. Ergo, he needed to hold an honor-filled feeling in his heart, and it could be more difficult without those sounds. At the same time, those sounds could cause a problem for the Kohen Gadol, for it could make him feel self-important. All of this honored noise accompanied him. He had to watch his ego. Therefore, he wore the cloak of Techelet that would cover especially his heart and keep his thoughts in check and focus him on holy intentions. Remind him that the bells were not meant to give him honor, rather to focus him on being a servant to God and not become grandiose before God.
Okay. So he basically develops a whole koshi. Explain, no, the bells are not meant to, warn us or save his life. It's inconsistent, doesn't make sense. Ultimately, it's not even the bells that do anything. The bells give honor to God. They are like a decorative, maybe what Sarah Rose was saying. But in the end, it's actually the blue techelet clothing, which he wore in every circumstance, that should remind him of God and really put him in check. That when he's doing the service and the bells, he could feel like, it's like a butler doing the bell for him. It's like all about the bell.
Yeah, I really...
But it's not for him. And this is supposed to be a humbling moment. Yeah, go ahead.
And the bells are, in essence, a mindfulness tool. They're to remind him that he is, A, serving a holy function, and B, is not about him.
that he is a servant. Like the whole point is to serve.
To be a vessel.
Something else, not to be serving his own grandiosity. But it's easy to fall in the trap of those two things in certain roles. Okay. Any thoughts or comments on this idea about the trap or complexity that this is meant to control his ego, that the bells, he could think the bells are for him when they're not really for him? Does anyone have any reactions or thoughts about this idea about the coat protecting him, not just with to keep warm, but really to protect his humility? Yes, Tom, what do you say?
The last phrase, that he may not die,
Yes.
it's almost like a statement of a life insurance policy. in I'll make you an offer sort of thing. If the priest commits to this life,
Yes.
it will serve him well.
Mm.
He can't leave the life.
Huh.
He can't do something else.
So
Yeah.
Tom, it sounds like, Tom, you're saying that when looking specifically at the last phrase of the verses from Exodus, when it says that he may not die, there is implicit that in leadership, he's a little bit stuck in this role, I guess like a Supreme Court justice or something. It's a job for life, but the insurance policy is that if you do this honorably and you sort of utilize the protections that come with this system, it will protect you, and maybe not only your physical life, but your well-being.
And the memory of your life. Your life will have been a blessing to others.
Beautiful. And then your life will be a blessing to others. It will live on through that memory. Nice. Thanks, Tom.
I have one more point. Yeah, Mike, we got Mike in the back of this point. Go ahead, yep.
I like the idea of being mindfulness is important, but the actual Hebrew we translate as he wears is that actually it was on him.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So it's almost, I guess that when most weeks we're reading prophets now on our Saturday afternoon.
Study.
Is that we ought, that usually it's like the word of God was on the prophet. And the word of God became the prophet. So wasn't this person heard the word of God and then repeated it somehow? It's almost that this was possessed by the word of God.
Yes.
So the God's presence was going on this person in a way that did not imply any special characteristics necessarily of them. If the word of God is on someone, it doesn't imply they're listening. So okay, the word, in the same sense, it doesn't imply a lot about what Aaron is doing. The robe was on him. It is somehow making this is really more God's work than him playing an ornament.
Nice. So Mike's pointing out the nuance that it wasn't so much wearing as it was a part of Aaron, but it was on him. So in that sense, the holiness, the spirit was more God's, but something that he carried with him.
You fit.
Nice.
Yeah, Deb, what do you say?
My first thought when you were talking about the bells, I went back to Yom Kippur and Shofar, and
Yes.
the noise, not in that loud, like listen now, but more of a listen.
Subtle.
We should listen, and then more of a call to be present.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
really
It's like ringing a bell when you do with meditation, like
Yeah.
our Tibetan bowl.
Yeah, so Deb's bringing up the distinction between the shofar sound of Yom Kippur, which calls our attention in this very bold way, versus the bells, which is more sort of tinkling kind of sound that are like whispering to us, listen, listen, pay attention.
Wake up, wake up. I want to throw one other comment here before I'll give Alan a second. It's like, I want to say another piece here I think is profound is that the Kohen Gadol is meant to serve. In the course of serving, even though he, we will assume, best case scenario, wants to serve something greater, even though he may have signed up for this, so to speak, to do good work for the community, in the process, his ego gets caught up in that. So it's like you want to serve and you volunteer, let's even say, to put it more modern terms, contemporary terms, in what point does volunteering become more ego important than it is about service? Like there can be a boundary between wanting to serve and then losing track of the serve part and more about I want to be in charge part. Okay, I want to get to that a little bit. Who is it? Ellen, please.
What Deb said reminded me of the classic
Yes, yes, fair.
And that's what it is. It's not in the thunder, it's not in the grand, the shofar and all that. God is in the still small voice, and we have to stop what we're doing and pay attention.
Yeah, fair. I love that. That's like Rabbi Jenny 101.
So Ellen's reminding us of the Kol Dmama Daka, the still small voice, and the bells connecting us to, God is in that stillness, that quiet sound that we really have to open our ears and hearts to hear and to listen.
You fit. Dan, what do you say?
Without sounding too cynical, the serving comes possibly with perks.
Is that all? Is that all?
Take today's society, the question gets to be the people who serve in Congress, people who serve in the Senate. In many cases, it's the perks they get from electing some of them, or the benefits they get, the opportunities, and so on, and the connections they have.
So Dan's emphasized the idea that even though one wants to serve, he's giving modern political examples of politicians, you get a chance to serve might originally come from a source of potentially holiness and but real desire to serve, but then can turn emphasis on perks and benefits and things of this nature. And I want to say, I want to bring it down even more local, okay? I wonder, sometimes I raise the question, even serving in a synagogue or a nonprofit or whatever we do, it's not that I think vast majority, if not everybody, comes with the sense that they want to serve something greater than themselves. And you have to check yourself at some point. If I want to serve something greater than myself, but at what point is it like, let's say I'm involved in a particular thing, and let's say I care a lot about the mikvah, and I say, I'm not giving Rabbi Jenny an example here, right? And I say, I'm serving the mikvah all of a sudden, but I want to control the mikvah, or I care about the mikvah so much, no one else can participate in the mikvah. Here's an example. Not that that's happened, but at what point does one's service or volunteering perhaps become too controlling of a situation? Maybe he doesn't share that situation. One's service starts holy, but maybe because we care so much, we maybe become too egocentric about it. I'm not saying egocentric, too focused on what we want as opposed to what the community wants. It's a fine balance because you feel motivated to serve for good reasons usually, because you care. But what point do you hold back on something? Where's a limitation?
And I think the key is that there has to be some ego, right? The part of us that says that arises, it says, I want to serve. I have something to contribute.
Yes.
You must have an anochi. You must have a sense of I to do that. We want to harness that.
Yes.
And then right-size it so that it is still in service of the greater good, in service of the divine.
How to find that balance. It actually reminded me of hearing Stuart say it's like when George Washington was basically given the opportunity, more or less in a sense, to become a king. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to step back. Or Moshe is saying, you could be priest and prophet, in a way saying, no, I don't want to do both. That is actually a tremendous statement of service because they actually saw that it would be better to actually hold back on a certain degree. They could actually serve that way. It would go too far on some level. I think it's very important as well, like limitations. All right, anybody else have comments and thoughts about this before we wrap up? Sarah, Bakasha.
I don't know about other people, but I would find it very annoying to walk around and hear bells all the time. So I wonder if the bells, both they elevate the person and could affect the ego, but also could be a sign of the office, of the responsibility.
Exactly.
It's an auditory thing, and, as well as putting on the clothing, being like, oh, right, here I am to work. And I'm actually working for someone else because I have to hear these stupid bells all the time.
Wow. That's I
Great.
love that.
Yeah.
I love it. So Sarah basically bring all these things together, saying the bells, it was implied honor. That's the focus. But no, maybe the bells are like an ongoing reminder to the Kohen Gadol. Remember who you're serving.
And a burden on some level. Could be annoying.
And of the office. I think it's a good point. Of the office as opposed to what they want for themselves. Yefeh. I think you should bring everything together beautifully, Sarah. Yefeh. Shikoch. Awesome, Chevra.
I'm just thinking as we don't have it on our particular ark, but again, in many, many congregations, you'll see above the holy ark, Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. And I think that it's just, we see an example here of Aaron, of the high priest, but I think it's something that we can all relate to on some level, is just that we need reminders of who we're really serving, who with a capital W. and what we're actually here to do. And that's something that any of us, even the high priest, could forget. And so we place reminders in our physical space, however we do that, whether with bells or with words, to help, again, remind us and be a mindfulness practice in what we're actually here to do.
To serve. Yishar koach. Awesome, awesome. Chevra. We now can hold on to your papers. We're now going to rise on page 184 for Chatzi Kaddish of Musaf. We rise.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ואלמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון וחי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ימנו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך ללמונה מהלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשא בריחו להאמין כל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה דמירה בעלמא
Everybody place our feet together, pages 185 to 187 together. The rest is done silently.
Adonai sefatai tiftach
ufiyai teilatecha Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah El HaGadol HaGibor VaNorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Elonei Yaakov Ezocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot Umevidu Elim V'neihem Levan Shemo V'yahava Melech Ozer Ufokenu Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ufokei Sarah Atah gibor le'olam Adonai Mechayei metim atah rav le'oshia Mashiv haruach u'morid hagasher Meharel chaim bechesed Mechayei metim berachamim rabim Somech noflim ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו משני עבר וכמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לה מלך ממיד ומחייך ומציע ישועה
ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי המתים נריצך ונקדישך כסוציח שר בקודש המקדישים שמך בקודש ככתוב על ינביאך
והר הזה ואמר קדוש קדוש קדוש
אדוני צבאות
מלוא הארץ כבודו
כבודו מלא עולם משרתיו שואלים זה לזה היה מקום כבודו לעומתם ברוך יאמרו
ברוך אדוני
ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים ויחון העם מייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים ביאבה שמה אומרים שמה ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד הוא אלוהינו הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שני לעיני כל חי להיות לכם לאלוהים
אני אדוני אלוהיכם
ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור
אם לא נעלה ישראל לדור ודור הללויה
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש בשפרך לא נביאים לשלם ועד כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל.
203.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא תברח שמותי ומחמחותי, בחיי חרון ומחון, ובחיי תכל בית ישראל, בעגלה וישמעגרי והימרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה וברך, לעולם ועולם יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו, לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשוש ברכתה ונחמתה, תמירן ועלמא והימרו, אמן. תתקבץ לתרבות תוכו ישראל, קדם אבהון וישמע והימרו, אמן. יהי שלמה רב מן שמעיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל והימרו, אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל והימרו, אמן.
204.
אין כאלוהינו, אין כאדוננו, אין כמלכנו, אין כמושיענו, מי כאלוהינו, מי כאדוננו, מי כמלכנו, מי כמושיענו. נודה לאלוהינו, נודה לאדוננו, נודה למלכנו, נודה למושיענו. ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך מושיענו. אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא מושיענו. אתה הוא שכתינו אבותינו, לפניך את השמים עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדילה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כיועי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומתפללים משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא שכולו בשמיים.
כן נקבל לך ונתקן עולם.
כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר לאדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא ביום ההוא, כי אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
May be seated. We turn to page 207. Invite those in mourning, observing a yard site this Shabbat. Titzaveh, we invite you to rise for Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma dirach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה ברכו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה לחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Maybe see we invite Susan Erleka, member of Board of Trustees, past president, offer announcements.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom,
Shalom.
and what a beautiful azure sky to look at today through our windows. The announcements are mostly on your sheet. I'm going to just highlight a couple of them. Tomorrow, Sunday, February 13th, from 9 to 12:30, outside in the courtyard, the Girl Scouts of our Beth Meyer troop will be selling their delicious cookies at $5 a box. And, of course, the cookies are kosher, so come support the Girl Scouts, support your yearning for the annual Girl Scout cookies. And we're also having an interfaith canned food drive. There's a beautiful bin right out here. The lobby that is supporting the Lighthouse Project's annual Feed the Legacy. It's an interfaith food drive to support Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. There's a fascinating Sisterhood Program coming on February 23rd. Ellen's sister is providing an interactive program that allows us to learn about positive sensory input to your brain so you will feel more creative, energetic, and productive. And of course, Purim is coming up next week. There's a slew of activities related to that. There is a deadline coming I think at the end of this week, if not earlier. Again, it's a wonderful Sisterhood project to promote the good work that Sisterhood does. And so after Shabbat, I invite you to use the QR code or log on to the website, which has more announcements as well as further explanation. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Awesome. So remember, of course, minions take place Sunday at 9, 7:30 in the morning on Monday on Zoom, Rabbi Jenny, and Wednesday at 5:30. Okay, so we usually do a little introductions, maybe people embarrass them. Is there anyone here who's here a first time or one of a first time, a new-ish person? Anyone new-ish who can introduce themselves? You're going to make them embarrass themselves? Huh? Some people? Anybody? We're going to just stand up and say? Okay, yes, who's here? The Joel right before? Yeah.
Yeah, Gabrielle, she introduced herself last week.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's great to see you. All right, I'm going to make the appel stand up because they're brand new members. New members, all right, because they've been here before. But they're new official. Yes.
Yay.
Awesome. We are so glad to have you guys here. Fantastic. Is that Maggie right there?
Yeah.
Maggie, we'll make you stand up.
New-ish.
Maggie or newish? Come, stand up. Who are you?
Maggie Green.
Who's Maggie?
Maggie, I'm a newish member, but the student.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you, Maggie. It's fantastic. Awesome. All right. So I think it's going to be a beautiful weather actually sit outside for Kiddush today, right? Finally. Sounds nice, all right? We're going to wrap up with Adonai, page 211.
211.
Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Hashem
Hashem
Alav,
Alav,
V'ter Goy, Zidira, Nasav, V'chesed Zan Alav Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Vehu Echad Sheni, L'Ham Shelo L'Hachbir Adon Olam, Reishit, V'li Tachlit, Ve'oz HaMisrach Adon Olam, Vehu Eli, V'chayoli, V'tzorech Avli V'yitzar Adon Olam, Vehu Nisi, Umanos Li, V'nakosi V'yaveka Adon Olam,
Please rise.
Be'ado Afkid Ruchi, V'etishan V'ya'ir Adon Olam, Ve'im Ruchi Geviati, Adonai li v'lo ira Adon Olam. Al Kein Berach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat v'yikachehu Savri.
L'chaim.
Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri agafen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom,
shalom,
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat
everyone.
shalom. All right. Shkaya.